Hello, let me kill this music. I don't know what's going on here. Let me just stop it. Welcome everyone. It's Yvonne Shepherd. I'm here to chat to you today about why hiking is actually the best thing that you can do for your fitness, but surprisingly for your friendships as well, or perhaps not surprisingly, depending on um, who you are, how much you know about us, and how much you know that hiking and the friendships that you have made have actually changed your life. So if you're new here, I am Yvonne, founder and CEO of Women's Fitness Adventures. I have been teaching, training, and taking women on hiking adventures close to home and all over the world for 13 years now. So I know a bit about hiking. I know a lot about women. I've been in the health and wellness space for women for 2 decades now. So there is a lot of things that I can share with you about hiking and fitness. But today we're going to talk about why hiking is actually one of the best forms of fitness that you can do. And you can also why hiking is just so good for friendships as well. So go ahead and let me know in the notes if you're in the chat, if you're watching live. I'd love to say hello. And if you have a question, please go ahead and answer what ask the question as well. So, as I said, I've been leading women on the trails for over 13 years now. And one thing that surprised me the most in the beginning, and it doesn't surprise me anymore because I have that knowledge of anticipating the outcome, is it's not the scenery. And some of the scenery is the most mind-blowing scenery you will see. It's not the location, and we go to some pretty fabulous, out of the way locations where the crowds don't go. Um, and it's not the distance that's covered over the course of the multi-day hike or the day hike, because that's such a big achievement in itself. But what it is, it's actually the thing that surprises the women the most, not me, is the friendships that are formed or cemented on the trail, the friendships that are formed in the pre, and then the friendships that are actually formed on the trail and are everlasting after that. So pop in and say hi. And yeah, there we go, Marie. Thank you. I think I've got a little bit of delay here as well. So to this session here, I'm going to talk about two sides of hiking. One thing, what hiking does to the body, physically does to the body, because there are things that hiking does to our body that no other exercise replicates in what we get out of the trail in terms of physical. But also the social side, because nobody warns us in the brochure about the social side, and warning in a really good way as well. So what does hiking do for our body that other types of exercise doesn't do? Well, it's really surprising, and there's lots of great things. Um, so and if you are a regular hiker, you'll have noticed these changes happening to you. And if you are wanting to get into hiking, then here's another reason to just, get into it. No need to delay. Find the place and the space that works for you. So hiking is actually weight bearing, and that matters to people more than we realize, but it matters to women much more than we realize as well. Because once we get to, a certain age, around midlife, or even, over the age of 30, our bone density starts to decline, and it declines more rapidly when we get into that menopausal age. Now, this is not a talk about menopause, but when we are hiking out on the trails, when we have a pack, no matter whether that's a light pack or a heavy pack, we're walking on uneven terrain. It's one of the most effective things that we can do for bone density. So we're putting load on our body, load on our bones, and we're then asking it to be on different surfaces and have this kind of uneven motion going through us. So running doesn't give you that because you're generally not carrying a backpack, so you're not load bearing as much. Not cycling, because cycling is a very different form of exercise, and certainly not swimming where you're buoyant. So hiking is what is really good. It's a load bearing or weight bearing exercise. And every step that we take on an uneven trail sends a signal to our body that our bones need to stay strong. So, as you know, if I'm someone who is starting out and I'm on a trail and I'm not used to walking on a trail, then I might find that, and depending what shoes I'm wearing, that the next day my ankles might be a little bit sore, or I've gone uphill or downhill, as we discussed last week, and I'm sore. So every single time we take a step, there's this instant feedback to our body, and our bones need to stay strong to keep us upright. And that matters so much for us as women because generally in the fitness conversation, it's all about boosting our cardio. It's all about looking and feeling strong. Not so much the looking, but the feeling strong. And are we building strong bones? But never this, or not are we building strong bones? We're never really talking about in our general fitness conversations across, all the social media and even the unless you're with a specific PT, we're not generally talking about bone health. So hiking does that. Hiking will really help us improve our bone health. So a great reason to take up hiking because it does some things that other exercises don't do. But the other big thing, there's five I'm going to talk about. The other thing that hiking does that the other exercise doesn't do is it trains our balance in a way that going to the gym does not do, walking on the footpath does not do, going to Pilates does not do unless you're kind of really well advanced. Um, it kind of does what yoga in some ways does to balance, but every single step we take on the ground requires us to adjust and adjust and adjust every single time. And if we're an experienced hiker, we're probably not even aware of this, that we're probably just so used to, oh, okay, I stood on a rock the wrong way, but my body has adjusted and off I go again. But our ankles, our knees, our hips are all reading the ground as we put the weight through our foot, the weight's on our back, and then our body has to adjust every single time. So it is training us to remain and stay balanced, even though we may feel uneven over different surfaces without really responding. So they call that pro proprioception, or what it is knowing where our body is in time and space. So being totally aware of everything in our surroundings and how we move through that in our surroundings. So if we don't train that as we get older, if we don't train for balance, if we don't train for our self in awareness of space, it will decline with age. It will decline, and as we get older, obviously it declines. It declines as we get older. So hiking will train us for that, even if, well, not even if, hiking will train us that when we're out on the trails and we won't even notice. So we're getting that constant feedback of where am I in time and space. And if you think about you're hiking along on a trail and then all of a sudden you have to step over a log that you may not have stepped over before. Now, perhaps the first time you do that, you might think, well, the log is kind of up to my hip height and I'm not particularly tall. How am I going to get myself over this? And then after a while, when you have a few of those or it's knee height and you need to step over, you're fully aware of how your body will move, how high you need to lift that leg, then you're on one leg for balance. So you're fully aware of how you're moving through time and space and how your balance is going as well. Um, so the gym will give you strength, the exercises will give you the strength, but the trail will give you, and the balance, but the trail will give you the ability to use all of those together without even thinking about it. Hello, Christine, and hello, Lynn, as well. And hello, Brod. Brod says, I might share that on screen. Um, it feels so good when you're on a surface that doesn't scare you and you can handle it efficiently. Absolutely, it does. And that's a really, really valid point. And sometimes it's a point we've trained ourselves to get to, but sometimes when we know that we've done the background work with our exercise and our strength and our focus, but then we've got that time and experience on the trail, that we know that we can safely move through time and space, because we've got the balance and we've got that coordination without even realizing it. Um, but hiking gives you this as well. Hiking gives you functional strength, not just aesthetic strength. So, there's a lot of talk at the moment, and rightly so, about how women need to get into strength training. Strength training and prioritizing muscle are really, really important. But hiking will build you the functional strength that you need. So we're not building our hiking strength to look a particular way. We're building strength so we can actually do what we're supposed to do. And I was having a chat with someone the other day about me. So, I am 59, coming close to 60 in a few months. And over the last couple of years, I've really been focused on, well, for the last 13 years, training my body hiking. And I hike, several times a week, as many of you do. And what I have found is also doing the strength training at the gym, and then an age consideration in here as well is that my body shape has completely changed in that the clothes don't fit. But what my body has changed to is it's adapted to what I'm doing in terms of my physical activity. So my strength that I have in my body is now reflecting what I do every day or every other day, which is hiking. So I'm strong for carrying a pack. So this is what hiking will teach us. I'm strong for descending a hill without my knees starting to complain, and I've worked hard to do that. I'm strong for getting up off the ground because my hiking has given me that skill to not want to fall over and get myself off the ground. And I'm strong to keep going on day 3 as well. So our hiking will build us the functional strength to be able to do what we do, not just that aesthetic or body image strength that a gym gives us. And I do go to the gym, so I fully support going to the gym as well. And consecutive days on a trail will build something that no day walk will build, and probably no well, not I'm going to say no, but lots of other activities don't. So this is the multi-day difference. A long day hike is a great thing. It's a really good thing. But when we go for 3 or 4 or 5, or some of you go for 30 or more on your big long pilgrimages, um, the training, we just change the way the stimulus starts to act. So have you ever, and I think with those pilgrimages or anything that's, longer than about 4 days, that nice rhythm of all you need to do is get up and put one foot in front of the other, is our body will learn to recover while it's still moving. Our cardiovascular system will respond. Our legs will find a rhythm they can sustain, rather than moving at a pace they can sprint. And this is why hiking is very different to, or, walking holidays are very different to getting up and running 15 kilometers every day, because our body, we're out all day on our hiking or walking holidays. Our body's learning to respond and adapt and adjust every single moment that we're out there. And um, most of the women who do their very first multi-day hike, and if you've done many of you watching, think back to when you did your very first multi-day hike. And, day 1 is fantastic. There's excitement. Day 2 is a little bit of fatigue might kick in. Day 2, sometimes emotion comes out. And by day 3 and then into day 4, you've walked into this next level of fitness, and your body is just adapting in real time because you're just serving it up every single day. And they generally feel stronger on day 3 or 4 than what they did when they first started. And depending how long you're going for, and the longer you go, you do need to bake in a couple of rest days, is that body just starts responding and adapting to that. And all of a sudden, you're feeling that you're missing it if you're actually not out there doing it every single day. And that's actually not us imagining it. It's just our body's adapting to, this feels good and I want to feel this again tomorrow as well. Hello, Sue, and hello, Margaret. Lovely to have you here with us. But what also happens to us physically, and it's kind of a physical and a mental, uh, a brain crossover here, is that when we're out on the trail, because we're looking at our feet generally, we're looking at the trail, we're scanning for, things all around us all the time, is we just get sharper in the brain because we're mentally on all the time as well. So not only are we, improving our balance and our bone strength and our stability, and our awareness in time and space, is our brain's working at the same time going, yeah, if I step there, if I do this, no, and you kind of go to step there once maybe and realize that, no, I need to react really quickly and not do that. So it's just this whole sensing and responding and reacting faster than what we would if we weren't out there hiking and doing this type of exercise. And then the other thing, the 5th point of why hiking is pretty much better than most exercises out there, and it's not an exercise, is it? It's so much fun, is your recovery will improve with consistency, not because we're getting older or not because we're young, if we frame it that way. So most of us assume that we recover more slowly because we're getting older. And sometimes, yeah, if we've done a whole big hard slog, it does take us a little time to recover. But we often recover slowly because we're not consistent with something. Now, for some of you who may be coming back into hiking after an absence or an illness, or for some of you who have been hiking for a long time, you'll know that if you are hiking regularly and consistently, then it takes you less time to recover than someone who may go for a big hike once every 2 months or so. So, those who hike regularly will recover faster than those who hike occasionally. And what that says is that consistency is the key, not your birthday being the key. So, we're not going to recover faster because we're older or younger. We're actually going to recover faster or improve our recovery time because we're hiking more consistently. So hopefully that makes sense. So why hiking is great for our fitness and can do what a lot of other exercises don't do. And next time someone says to you, you want to go for a hike, if you are capable of going for a hike, put your hand up and say yes, because it is doing much more for you than what you actually realize. But this is the second part of it. If someone says you want to go for a hike, put your hand up and say yes, because what happens socially on a trail does not happen generally anywhere else. And this is something that, you know, doesn't get talked about all that often. And my husband, we were preparing for a trip and went and got some vaccinations, and the nurse knew of me. I hadn't met the nurse before, but she knew and said, "Oh, yeah." Yeah." And my husband asked what we talked about on the trail. And we just kind of looked at each other and didn't answer. But what happens when you have people who have that shared connection, and the shared connection, whether they've met each other before or not, is you've taken down a lot of the barriers to talk about already. So sometimes the hardest part is actually showing up and showing up to a group that you don't know. But the great thing is that when, and certainly I see this in all of our groups and in all of our women's fitness adventures community, because the women are just so awesome, is that when I first started women's fitness adventures, I not only wanted to do hiking things and couldn't find a group, but I couldn't find a group of women like me. And I could have set up let's go meet at the coffee shop or let's go meet at the tavern, but that face-to-face social conversation has a weight to it because you get there and the purpose of being there is just that cup of coffee or just that glass of wine or just whatever that is. But with any interest-based group, so this could be hiking, this could be crochet, this could be mahjong, this could be a whole lot of different things, is that when you're, in particular with hiking, when you're walking side by side with someone, the barriers start to break down really, really quickly. The conversation can be as general as it's a beautiful day and look at that and let's have a look at that view and that sort of thing. Um, but the conversation starts to happen as you go along. And what we find is that you can share a little or you can share a lot about yourself on the trail, but someone's generally walked your story before. It might be a different character, might be different, plot slightly, but someone's generally walked your space before. And if those common interests of love of hiking, love of outdoors come together, then the social barriers are pretty much broken down straight away. It's not sitting there in a one-on-one exchange like this is. Well, this is not even an exchange. I'm not asking something. Hello, I'm Yvonne. Let's have a cup of coffee. What do you want to talk about? We've actually got this space and common interest to talk about before we start. And this is what else happens is that the shared hiking experiences accelerate the trust. Now, that's trust in ourselves, but also trust in the people we're hiking with if you choose the right group. And I've seen this on our multi-day adventures. The moments that get talked about the most and the moments that are the bonding moments are generally the moments that, don't go to plan. The rain might have bucketed down, or we might have, had to take a detour to someone else because the track got closed, an hour before we got there, or whatever it might be. But the sometimes the harder things, and harder being relative to anyone, are the things that bond us bond us and hold us more tightly rather than something just of a shared leisure. So if you think about it, if we all had to, and I see this on multi-days, if we have a creek crossing to go through and we have to do some rock hopping, and a lot of people haven't done rock hopping since they were children, that shared experience of getting each other across the creek creates that really strong bond from day one, and barriers just get broken down straight away. and everyone encourages each other to be successful. So I'm not talking about following someone around on a trail. I'm not talking about a random group of people. I'm talking about, when you choose a specific hiking group that you know works for you, that you feel comfortable in, this trust and this bond will break down, and the social barriers break down really, really quickly. And what does that do? So that when you have this shared interest, the small talk just disappears, and it really doesn't take long to find one or two or more, but people in the group that have more shared interests with you than you think. But you may probably have never met if you'd not stepped into the hiking realm. And I know many, many women who are in our community, 99.9%, who joined not knowing someone. And I can tell you, because we did a member promotion of member bring a friend, and everyone said, well, what's the point? None of my friends wanted to go hiking. That's exactly why I'm here, and now I have a whole set of friends. So the shared interest does the work that the small talk sitting over a cup of coffee doesn't. The cup of coffee at the end is a great thing, because you've got some really great things to talk about. So when everyone loves the group, loves hiking, I should say, you've kind of broken down a lot of barriers to start with. And when we do our multi-day hikes, certainly here at Women's Fitness Adventures, we have the closed Facebook group. We do a lot of facilitating beforehand, so you know who's coming, and you may have met them on different things. Is that when you meet in the first instance, it's already created the friendship from within the first hour. And a lot of our suppliers love when we come on adventures, because when they take other groups, they have to break down all those barriers. And it's about 2 or 3 days in. And I've been on trips like that with other companies. It's about 2 or 3 days in before the social cohesion starts. And so you're kind of going, you might just sidle up to someone and go, hello, tell me about you. And then it's another half a day before you talk to anyone else. So immediately, with a shared interest and a shared women's group, a lot of those barriers are broken down before you even set foot on the trail for the first time. And you can, the great thing about walking with a group that you have this common interest for hiking is that you can walk faster or slower, but you're still within a group. So if you're someone who's relatively shy or introverted, or, just when you're outdoors prefers to have your own, your own space, some of the time or all of the time, you can walk out in front or you can walk behind. We've got some avid bird watchers in our community, or people who just don't really want to have a whole lot of conversation for all of the trail, is that you can walk as fast or as slow as you want, and nobody cares. But you still get your own space, and you're still part of the safety and the cohesion of the group. It's just hiking. So you have that space to breathe, socially breathe without, anyone going, well, why are they just, or not, people not even showing up. But here's the big thing, and Brod just said it as well. And hello, Nerida. Brod has said here, I've made some amazing friends through this group, which she has. And this is not a promotion for this group, although I love all our members and I'm so pleased you're saying that. But if you're watching and you're not a member and you're thinking, I want to do hiking, but I need to find my group, is just have a think about, all the things that are important to you as you make your selection. And Nerida says, I'm so grateful to have met so many lovely, funny, and inspiring WFA women. And that's the thing, is that, inside our community, and it's all the different things that any of you might belong to, is that until you put your toe in, you may never come across in our instance, these women in any other way. Certainly, uh, a lot of the women I've met and a lot of stories I hear is that the social circles would never have overlapped if they'd not stepped into, a hiking realm for exercise and for friendship as well. And that's the part nobody warns you about. When our members go home from a hike, or even, inside our community, it isn't the end. It's really just the beginning. And many of our members have been with us since the very beginning, 13 years ago, and many, as you just heard, have come on in the last couple of years. And those friendships will outlast anything, because they're built on a common new shared interest. And as we get older, and if we have kids, or we move locations, or our relationship changes, or we leave our work environment, how and when and where you meet people will vary, and certainly as the world changes as well, how we all interact. Um, it just gets harder and harder to meet people who share those common interests. So hiking is such a great one for not only physical, but for the friendship as well. So eh, then I want to talk about women's only hiking groups. And I've had lots of, and I've mentioned this before, lots of requests over the years to why don't I start a men's hiking group? And, we're designed by women for women. Um, and I find that, and I've had male guides say to me over the years as well. And women, we are without this is not a put men down, but we are very encouraging of each other. We are very generally women are very supportive of each other. We're nurturing. We want everyone to succeed. And if I look at males, and I've had this come back to me from male guides, is that males are very task oriented, and it's really the point is getting to that pinnacle, or that summit, or that end point. And it is too for us women, but our point is to get us all there together, and to get us all there safely. But it's the conversations that we have, it's the richness of that understanding, to know that we will all do this together, that we won't leave anyone behind, that we will have each other's back, and that causes everyone to be really relaxed and really supportive. And the difference is we all still get there, but we're not, it's about the collective, not about the individual. And also, as I said just before, as we, move away from children, or children move away from us, or move out of us, or the frequency in our lives, we may or may not be having to care for aging parents. Our work status might change, our location might change, our relationship might change. This need for real connection, and real connection can be made just like here online now, because it does spill into real life. And I know Brod, who's our Tasmanian Tourist Bureau, has so many of our members who are always, when they're visiting Tassie, will always stop in and say hello. And so those connections are real. I have connections all over the world now that I can see maybe once every couple of years, but connect through here as well. And we're all wanting to, connect. It's built through hiking that can spill to real life, or spill to, real conversations, not just Facebook comments, but real conversations. Christine says, I have not had an easy few months, but the response and support and encouragement I receive from Women's Fitness Adventures members is so different and so much more positive than the response I get from non-hiking friends. That's sweet, Christine. Thank you for sharing that. Um, and yeah, that is, I guess we understand. We understand. And friends come and go for different reasons, and friends are with us for seasons, and some of us are there all the time. But when someone walks the same path you do, there's a bit more empathy and a bit more understanding. And as I said, uh, you know, hiking fitness is so beneficial for us in the physical ways, but it's so beneficial for us in terms of our friendships as well. Um, so hiking's not really a fitness story. It's a story of belonging, of finding your feet, finding the health benefits, the physical benefits, and finding the friendship benefits as well. So there are, if you're watching this, or if you're coming back from injury, there are, and you want to get into hiking, or you want to restart, is there are women at your pace. There are women in your space. There are, um, women who you want to hike with, and some that you think, well, that's just not my space right there. Um, and they're all out there. They're probably looking for you too. So as much as you're looking for that connection through hiking, or wanting to start hiking, and as you've seen many ladies say here as well, they're waiting for you as much as you're waiting for them. So the key is to take the bravest step that you can, and just reach out, and get your hiking journey started, because the physical and friendship benefits are outweighing the time that we're sitting here pondering whether it is for me or not. And there's so many groups out there. You can find us, or you can find your own. So Yeah. Why hiking fitness is better than any other forms of fitness, because you get that social connection with every step and every conversation. So that is it from me. I do hope you've enjoyed it. Our replay is always on YouTube. And if you're watching on YouTube, drop us a question there as well. So thanks for joining me.